Thank you. Well, I'm overwhelmed. So many people came. I just want to thank everyone here, Andrew and Will and Lucy and Camille for inviting me to show, first of all, and setting up this beautiful show, and also showing Chris. I think the synergy in our work is really very appealing. I think they both play off of each other really nicely. How organic, how much they feel like they're part of this Skagit Valley. I mean, mine are rather earthy, and hers is showing the earth itself. Totally, mine's abstract, but I think her materials work. So I'm thrilled to be showing Chris. And I thought I would talk a little bit about process, and then ask questions anytime, please, because I just want to adlib about what I do. I thought it always helps if I can look at what I'm talking about, but the clay pieces seem to get a lot of questions about what in the world I'm doing here. They're all hand-built, so that means starting with just a regular blob of clay and rolling it out. I cut strips, then I just kind of build up a bit, thinking about where I want to go with this thing. Let it harden a little bit until I can engineer it up a little further, because a lot of them are shallow at the base and then rise up. So they have to kind of be engineered to withstand that weight and not fall over. So, so bit by bit, they creep up, letting them dry a little bit, keep going. And even when the shape is finalized, it's not perfect by any means. So I go back, and you can see they have a real accuracy kind of sense to them. So there's a lot of scraping, carving that I do when I'm done with the piece. So as just a clay body. I use a clay that has a lot of grog in it, so it has lots of texture to it. And when I go back and clean up and refine the form, I'm scraping across it, which drags those little sand particles through there and creates kind of little stripes or striations or pockets in it. And that, when I go to finish it, traps some of this finish I put on there and allows shading and light and dark and pooling of color and that kind of thing. So they're finished with an iron oxide finish, and that's kind of the thing that seems a little more, it's more different than what you might expect on a clay piece. So it's really is iron. It's painted on. The paint has iron particles in it, so that it really is iron. And once that's dry, you can put a finish on it that reacts with it and oxidizes, so it immediately starts turning rusty. And you just keep putting coats of that on until it gets to look as rusty as you want it to look. And the nice thing that happens, if there's slices on it or little crevices, the color changes within that. It becomes a little more yellow in places, a little darker in others. So it has this nice textural effect even in the iron oxide. And then I've combined a lot of my clay pieces with stone this time, and liking the stone part to this too. I had a lot of comments in the past, or at least some, like, what do we do with these things? You know, what do you put them on? Where do you place them? You know, I gave one to my sister, and she's running around the house like this. You know, what am I going to do with it? You know, and I never have gotten her base for it yet. But, so I decided stone is a nice thing, and I have some stone carving friends, and they help me with getting the polishing done and the cutting and that kind of thing. So and then mostly there's a hole drilled into the stone and then up into the clay, and a steel rod goes in there. So they are epoxied onto their stone bases and won't come off. And then the bronze, I'm not really getting into bases on bronze too much, but a lot of the bronze pieces, like that little blue one here, 4 up and one over there, intersection, they all start out as clay. Those were then a mold taken off the clay piece and then capped. But pieces like 4 up, I've taken a pattern off of it, and I've made a piece about this high in Corten steel. So it's a big thing where you kind of engineer, like take very detailed drawings on the sides and make a pattern and lay it out on the steel, a sheet of steel, have it cut, welded, finished. And Corten steel is this great stuff that looks just like the iron oxide finish. It rusts, and it has this cool, rusty, this very purposeful kind of thing that self-heals. And the healing that it does, it's just, if it rains on it, it starts to rust, but that is the healing process that turns it to rust color and keeps it that way. It won't keep degrading and rusting through and make a hole in it ever. So it's really nice stuff, and it has that rust, so then you can do big pieces in rust too. So kind of a theme here in the rust bit. And that little piece, intersections, also I'm going to do a bigger bronze piece in that. So I've also done some bigger bronze off of little clay pieces, maquettes, like this Nordic Arc here was originally done as a little clay piece about that big up on a wood block. So,
I have a question.
Yeah.
In the clay piece, so you brush the iron oxide on it and then you fire it?
no,
You don't,
No.
these are not fired pieces?
they are fired. They're bisque fired,
Oh, they're okay.
and then the iron oxide is put on afterwards.
Nothing, and then you just fire the clay? and
Just
then
fire it.
The whole
Right.
finishing?
Yeah, that would probably react in the
Yeah,
kiln
yeah.
and create real problems.
Yeah, thank you.
Are these clay pieces solid?
No, they're all hollow. So it's not like getting a block of clay and carving it. You're building up walls. They're about a ½ inch thick. So
Slabs and structure?
kind of.
I'm not really sure if it's one of you building pieces.
Yeah, I'm building pieces really. Yeah, more like that, and then kind of burnishing them together, as I go up. Yeah, yeah. And it's even a little sloppier than that. It's not in a traditional, it's kind of, it goes as it goes, Sort of.
What's your clay body?
It's a stoneware. So I am going to be doing some outdoor pieces, which I'm getting a higher firing clay so it'll withstand some, outdoor temperatures. But I'm not a real technician about the pottery aspect of clay. I chose this medium because I wanted to sculpt, and it's a medium that, unlike wood, which you might need, heavy hammering, the stone, they all take heavy-duty tools, a lot of noise, a lot of dust, and clay I can lift, I can mess around with, have no problem, dealing with it. So it was always about the sculpture, not about the clay as much. I just love clay, but it's not about utilitarian things at all, and I'm very amiss in learning, more about firing temperatures. I just sort of stick with what I've been doing. It works, for it's a bisque fire. I've got that down, and I haven't had any break. And
Pretty amazing.
Well, I don't know. It's pretty ad lib. So.
Get your clay body at Tacoma?
Say our pottery.
What's the name? Actually, I get my George's in Portland, so I'm
Oh,
trying to find something closer to George's.
oh, I are. That's Seattle pottery.
Just curious what clay body, because I use it when I have to draw one for
Oh,
sculptures, too.
well, there's
Yeah, the name of the.
this. It's called their sculpture clay.
There's.
You ask for that. It comes in the beige or the red. I'm using the beige, but yeah, they only have one they call it. And you can get it in high grade or not.
Do you ever go using the red part?
No.
I asked weird. I've been doing Western Club too recently. You know, I had, and it was really cool to come here and say, oh, somebody else is doing this.
Yeah.
So really I didn't figure and stuff, but what I find is that if I fire a piece and put an iron oxide on it and then, you know, fire that on and then do the rust versus if I just put the rust on the other clay, I can get a grayer rust here and a redder rust there. It comes out different. So I was wondering how
powder on?
I'm doing the same thing here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with the catalyst.
Yeah.
But I'm finding that, and Tiffany, like patina, you can put over the rest and it comes
Right.
out better. Anyway, it's just been really interesting to see that if I do it on the white clay,
Yeah.
it comes out to be a different color rust.
Oh, you're
And
not
if I
right.
do it if I put iron oxide stain on the clay and then do it,
Oh, okay.
it fire that on. So I was thinking, what if I just use the red clay? I wonder what would happen. So that's what
I'm
I'm
happy to know. I seal clay first with like an acrylic base, and the company comes with a product that that seals the clay. Otherwise, it's just sucking up
Right.
the iron portion you're putting on first, and so you're just going through a lot of that really expensive stuff. So I seal it with acrylic first.
Does it have kind of offset for the color there? The ceilings?
Anything like that?
Like odor.
Odor.
I know they also say
No,
to
this is-
seal it after you're done rusting it. Do you do that too?
No. And I'm finding it's not really rubbing off or anything, so it's nice.
Yeah.
Any more?
I saw that you had some green pieces over there, so what was
Green?
it?
Aha, those are clay,
Yeah, I know.
and that is a sister product of the iron oxide. It's a blue patina.
Oh,
So it also has an undercoating, which is called a dark bronze coating, and then you put another layer on that reacts with that, and it turns it blue. You can have one that turns it green if you want, but that's blue.
Who do you get that from?
Pardon?
Who do you get that product?
What was it? Yeah, that's one. They come with triangle coatings. You can try name.
You used to be able to get them at Michael's, but only in really small.
Yeah. Neat. Yeah. Yes.
I think your shapes are terrific. What inspires your shapes?
Thank you. That's what I live for. You know, I mull on this a lot. I mean, some shapes have taken, that intersection piece took me 2 years to come up with. You know, I was doing sort of things that swirled around, and you know, it's like, okay, not quite there, not quite there. And when it came back through itself, but not totally through itself, it felt like a complete statement to me, like I had hit it. And so that's what I go for, is finding those answers to something that's mulling around in my head about what is this form going to do, where can it has to be like a simple answer to something that makes it complete. And that's, 4 Up, that little guy there kind of has some of that for me too.
Jane, to ask sort of a follow-up to that. Is there a significant difference in your approach to making a maquette? Just, you know, I'm sure sometimes you just begin making a maquette because you know you have a large piece to make, but is there a difference in your working or your mindset when you're making the maquettes as opposed to smaller work that you just want to work on? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah.
Is there a difference, or maybe there isn't a difference?
Well, I'm never at the place of thinking it's a maquette when I
Oh,
start.
okay, that's all.
Yeah, they're all, you
Just
know,
small
the original
works to
little
begin
ones
with.
that
I see.
if they kind of sing, and I can envision them getting big, then they will become that.
Well, your small work always reads that way, that it has the ability to be larger.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's something I
Right.
recognize to be.
Yeah, and they always have kind of spoken that way. Most people say that. So I've always been, enlarging things from ones I feel are the most successful small pieces.
It's fascinating to the degree that when you see a photograph of your work, it's very hard to tell how large it is without reading.
Yeah.
text.
Yeah, yeah.
It has,
Well, I like
that it does that. It has that
Well,
little-
and they morph a little as they get bigger too. I've done one called Continuity. It's in LaConner. The town bought one. It's about this high. But, you know, there's a clay piece, maybe this big, and it was the original. But when I changed its proportions slightly, and the one in LaConner has sort of this muscly feeling to it, so a little stronger, where the little one, the baby one, is more delicate. And I got a commission for a 7-foot high one in West Seattle. And I morphed the two, and because it was so big, I gave a little more of a swoop to it, a little more energy to it, because it was just so big, I didn't want it too static. And it turned out really nice. So all three are just slightly different from each other, depending on the scale, yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Yes. You come up with also,
Because that's what
every once in a while, it comes as I'm doing it, and sometimes it's very much afterwards, like the piece out there called Sisters. I hadn't a clue what that, it changed so much in the making of that piece. But when it was done, there's these two sort of back to back, one a little larger, very similar, but they're related. I felt they were literally related, so this is, you know, something most of the time afterwards, something occurs to me. Every once in a while, as I'm working on it, the name will
Yeah, with an abstract, it seems like you can go anywhere with the names, but your titles are great. I always struggle with
I try not to make it, give imagery to it mostly, because there wasn't imagery in my head when I was making it, so I don't want to put that in anyone else's mind that it's supposed to be something. It's not really supposed to be. Kind of
like dream interpretation.
oh, okay.
Jen, I had a quick question too. I love people talk about your foundry where you do your bronze.
Yes.
Could you kind of touch on that?
Yeah, well, I originally started using one in Oregon, down in Joseph, Oregon, called Valley Bronze. And it was highly recommended by some other sculptors that I know, and it's a good place. It's just 10 hours there. You know, nothing ever gets done in one day, so you're renting a place to stay, you know, and then 10 hours back. So the whole thing is a grueling event, plus it's white knuckle time at a foundry anyway. So, fortunately, in the last couple of years, a place that is coming to business in Seattle called Classic Art Foundry down by Bowling Field. And I started using them, and they're very gracious. They're, you know, they do good work, reasonable, fairly timely, you know, so that's what I'm getting it done now. So, yeah, Seattle.
Great.
And where do you live?
I'm on Whidbey. Oh, Coopville.
Tell us a little about your day of work and a little bit about your surroundings and environment on Whidbey, in your studio.
Well, the surroundings, it's kind of like the Skagit Valley because it's out of Coopville in the farmland. I am not on a farm, but I do have a half acre with chickens and 4 cats and a dog. Husband, of course, but maybe not, of course, whatever. But, and he's a photographer, so we share a lot. And I have a studio attached to the house. And it's plenty big enough at this point that I can get a lot of work in there, a lot of work done. It's got my kiln, and many shelves, and you know, it's a nice quiet place, basically. I really love the peace and quiet of being, and the open areas, you know, it's almost like prairie where we are. So, yeah. It feeds you kind of the way the Skagit Valley and the marshes. I love the marshes out here too. This is another ideal spot.
Has your background always been in sculpture and ceramic, or did it start
No,
as something?
I was a textile designer for many years, and then I painted, mostly in chalk pastel. And then, you know, one of those times happened when you hit the wall. And, used up my time.
One more question, yeah, one more question, and then we can have
When you
questions.
start this, do you have an outcome in mind? Do you have a shape outline?
I usually do, yeah. I mean, I couldn't just have a blob of clay and just not know it was gonna do something.
So you're working towards something?
I am working towards something. Every once in a while, if I can't totally see it in my head, I try to draw it out, a very simple line drawing, you know, just to get it, because you have to see it from so many angles. Some pieces, there's literally one piece I had to envision and make upside down, because it came out so wide like this and had two sides that undulated, came together with just a little hole through the center of this. And so because it went out at such a shallow angle, it wasn't going to hold its shape, so I had to make these big circular pieces flat on the table and start working up around that, and eventually when it was hard enough, flip the whole thing over and finish the top. So, yeah, but I love that. I do love that part, because, you know, so far it's worked, and they take so long to do, I mean, months, that in the meantime, you can kind of figure out your next step, because you're not being pressured here. It's slow motion.
That's neat.
Yeah.
But that brings up, how many pieces at a time are you working on? Just one, or are you working on multiple?
Usually several, you know, usually 2 to 4 at any one time, because one's going to be too wet to keep working on, or I might not have figured out what's next.
Do you work on it on a daily or?
But it goes in spurts. I've had quite a few shows this year, and so the first through had a show in July, open studio tour in August, this show, and I have one in November. So it's been a huge year as far as shows, and so I worked a lot in the spring and summer up to when this started. And I've been doing much more that has to do with promotion, and just getting things organized and ready and finishing all that work. But I already know next month when everything's done. I've been thinking about it for a while, so there's new things cooking, ready to start happening. So yeah, I'm excited, because there's been a lull in the making. So, I don't think I could do it every day. I would burn out. Yeah.
Someone probably asked this question, but I'm fascinated with how you get the patina and texture on the ones that are earth color.
Oh, yeah, that is a finish I put on there that has an ironed-in particles in the coating that's painted on, and then I put a separate coating over that reacts to the iron and oxidizes it, so it turns out rust. Thank you.
And as far as the texture goes, because a lot of it looks pockmarked,
Yes.
like
Right.
eaten away.
Right. Yeah.
And do you use any texture tools?
No. No, I'm scraping with a flat edge, and so a lot of those pock marks just come from what's in the clay. I mean, what the clay does is I've done this. I use scraping tools and cutting tools, and that's it. I'm never going back and doing any kind of little texture thing to it.
And I think you put your hole in before you
Yes. Learn the hard way.
to get the right size.
Mostly,
Uh-huh.
not always.
Right, okay, yeah. I know about that.
Yes.
But when it shrinks, everything shrinks.
Yes, yeah, and I wanted for a long time to do pieces. I have some pieces that are 2 sides to them, a bronze side and a clay side. And they're held separately apart. But I would really love to do some pieces where the clay intertwines with some other medium, whether it be stone or bronze. But the clay is so, it shrinks so much that it's just really, I can't predict. I've had to go back and sort of, It's actually putting some of that paper clay, folks are, yeah, in the ones to just sort of, because it shrunk so much, the ones that had to match the bronze. So I couldn't foresee everything.
Sometimes you have to do the clay and then do the bronze.
Yeah, yeah. But the bronze is shrinking its own
Oh,
rate.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
It's not quite as much.
not quite as much.
Yeah.
It shrinks and moves, so
Yes,
sometimes
Yeah.
it moves so that they don't line up this way.
right. Hardest thing is to get a square out of clay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, on your last, okay, so you're using slabs, and so you have your hard edges.
Yeah.
Um,
But that isn't like all one, those sides aren't all one piece, it's all been built up by little bits.
Right, yeah, but I mean, on your final, how do you get your final piece to stay in there? You know, when you're building it all up?
Yeah.
So that it doesn't crack,
Right.
and so you have to get up to the top, how do you get that last part
Oh,
on there?
the last piece?
Yeah,
I get a small piece if I can, even with my little finger going around smoothing the things inside there. And I take just a little wad of clay and push it in there like a plug.
gotcha.
And smooth it over on the top.